Welcome back.
To Immersive Reaction.
And a little bit of time. A little bit. We'll go over that after the video. Right now, we're just gonna get through the behind the scenes of Alien. Are gonna catch up a little bit on the extras first, just to get our engine going a little bit. And then we're going to get back into movies. We're gonna watch 2 movies in a single day. And then these behind the scenes will be pretty much out to you. I'm going to do this one in a day, so it'll be out. But let's get into it.
Let's get going.
This was a great movie when we watched it. I love alien type movies, and I grew up watching like Stargate SG-1 with my father on the Sci-Fi Channel because we just like sat around and watched that. Let's
get
into it.
An horrible dream about smothering.
The design of the Nostromo's interior is meant to make you feel uneasy. The walls are closing in, you are suffocating, and you have no idea what is lurking around each corner.
All of the corridors they were building in the
Yeah, I get that.
straight. They were laid out in a grid. And I said there are no blind corners. You need some blind corners in your spaceship. And they built the thing and readily ended up putting the hypersleep vault at the end of it.
In this video, I will tell you the behind-the-scenes techniques Ridley Scott and the design team used to make the spaceship sets give you anxiety, from concept
It
to
does.
execution.
It really does.
Anxious.
Yeah.
This episode is sponsored by Mubi. Try it free for 30 days by clicking the link in the description.
I was very interested in tapping the idea of what things could look like if they were drawn from a more realistic consideration of what a spaceship should be without going NASA. Create the sense of confined spaces at a premium inside, that the idea that it was with all the pressure doors, that it was pressurized, all those things I thought would contribute to the tension of the film.
Scott said that he's somewhat claustrophobic himself and tried to channel his real fears into the movie.
It looks like
the
a...
only thing more frightening than facing the alien would be having to face it while having been trapped in cramped quarters for over a year's time. Heading up Alien's impressive team of designers and art directors was production designer Michael Seymour.
Kind of looks like a
who had
padded
Ridley
room
Scott
wherever you
working
go.
together on commercials. Seymour gave a lot of credit to his team, emphasizing that everyone down to the draftsmen and plasterers contributed in their own way to the design.
Oh, that's neat.
Because
I
of
like
the
that.
massive size of the Nostromo, it was difficult.
It could be
for
easy to
filmmakers
just say,
determine
"You're doing it
exactly
this
how
way."
the set should be laid out in order to maintain logic. The solution was to develop the layout in 3 sections, based on what would be the 3 decks of the ship. The A deck for the crew's living quarters, the bridge and the infirmary, the B deck for more technical equipment but still comfortable for the crew, and the C deck with exposed pipes and electronics that would be used for holding gear and vehicles. Here are some sketches Scott did for how he wanted the ship to be laid out. This is the A deck, this is the B deck, and this is the C deck.
Okay.
Initially,
It really
Scott
went
wanted the
into
3
a-
levels of the ship to be
Quite
literally
depth.
on top of each
Detail.
other, but this was too difficult. So the 3 levels were built on separate sound stages, with the A deck filling most of their
Oh,
main
they
giant
literally
stages
tried to
in
build it like
studios,
vertically.
which even needed a wall removed to spill over onto an adjacent soundstage. Scott wanted the sets to be fully enclosed so he could pan the camera in any direction. To keep track of the
Oh.
layout, they actually built a 3-dimensional model so they could always have a reference of where the actors would need to go in order to arrive on another level. Fortunately, the model
Yeah.
was later destroyed without having
That's
to be
creepy.
photographed. Seymour had each of the Nostromo's levels completely self-contained and enclosed, with fully functional corridors, practical lighting, and most importantly, ceilings. You'll notice that in a lot of the shots you can see both the floor and the ceiling,
Yes.
which adds to that cramped feeling.
Yes, it does.
Because of the way the set was constructed, once you entered through a small wall panel in one of the airlocks and began to walk around, you would lose sight of the studio and forget that you were on a soundstage, making it
Wow.
feel like sitting
Dang.
on location. People often found it difficult to find their way out. This method both
Oh my
helped the crew
God.
keep track of the layout.
I
and
couldn't
the
imagine
That's
that.
what I'm saying.
And how cool would it be to get a chance
That
to
would just
walk around
rise
the
your
set?
panic in your.
Co-producer Ron
Yeah.
Chassette said,
That's almost, what's
totally
that
threw the actors off balance.
kid show in the
Kind of closed
90s?
environment after a while began to have a weird effect on the actors.
What?
Like
They were trapped
jungle
in this strange ship
maze or whatever.
that rattled them. Tom
You know what
Skerritt
I'm
told
talking
me one
about, you
day,
know?
I have a hard time keeping myself from walking around the spaceship with my mouth hanging open all the time. I'm supposed to have been on this ship for 10 years and I shouldn't be amazed by it. I have to come here at night to sit around and get used to it. It's really that unnerving. This isn't to say that they didn't still rely on some illusion.
Impeccable.
For example, they placed a mirror at an angle at the end of a corridor to make it look like the passage turned and continued. To add to the claustrophobic feeling, Scott kept having the ceilings lowered, the highest one winding up around 6 feet 6 inches. Producer Gordon Carroll
Quite
argued
short.
that the 6'2" Yaphet Kotto would quote-unquote knock his brains out, but Scott thought that it would be great if Kotto had to be constantly ducking. Apparently, even the 5'5" Ian Holm managed to knock his head against some low beams. The constant lowering of ceilings drove Seymour and the construction head crazy, but the only way to see how it looked was to do it.
Yeah.
Ultimately, it looked great in the widescreen format they were shooting in. It really felt
Yeah.
like you were trapped.
You get
I
a
mean,
lot.
yeah,
It was only broken when sometimes a wall had to be lifted out to get a camera in. But it seems like this was
You really
rare
do
because
feel it, though.
cinematographer Derek Van Lint said that it was often very difficult to cram all of the crew, gear, and actors into such small spaces. Some of the spaces, such as the bridge, started out relatively open and became gradually tighter and more enclosed as the production evolved. For the bridge, the space got smaller as more consoles and shapes were added to suggest the inside of a bomber plane. The bridge itself required over 50 blueprints. Tight spaces added certain safety issues as well. Veronica Cartwright recalled that on the first day of shooting, they were supposed to be crash landing and the smoke quickly filled up the small set, making it hard to breathe. The call sheet for that day required, quote, scorching and electrical fire damage to consoles. Scott already had smoky haze as part of his trademark while working on commercials in his first feature, The Duelists. For Alien, Scott wanted there to be a smoky haze after the landing, so they used something called a bee puffer that would expel incense smoke. Scott said,
Wow.
smoke to me
Oh,
That's
that's an
intense.
interesting.
fine layer
Jeez.
that dimensionalizes
The practical
the
is
depth. I
impressive.
wanted to mute the
That
color.
amount of like
Gauze or
detail.
filter has a tendency to flatten, but incense increases the depth and adds a three-dimensional quality, and you can get very sophisticated. It picks up the background and tends to silhouette things. The cast and crew would joke around often about Scott and his smoke gun because he was adding it to nearly every scene. Some of the producers
it
gotta get
worked
the
well.
gun.
crazy.
I gotta get the smoke gun.
Sigourney Weaver said the amount of incense used was not to be believed. It was also used to diffuse light on the bridge set, where the ceiling was very low. It was like the incense burned at a Catholic funeral I once attended. People wore masks.
You were so grimy when you left at the end of the day. I mean, between the being sprayed with glycerin and the smoke and the beeswax.
Got a better idea? Yes. I said that we abandoned the ship.
This haze adds to the overall feeling of
Does they gotta
stuffiness
look like
and makes you
dirty
feel like
and
you wouldn't be getting
like
enough
they're
air.
actually on
This
a
was sometimes an
industrial
understatement for the
ship.
actors. In the engine level sets, these jets of steam were created using canisters that would blow CO2 through tubes. While it was one of the most useful effects, the problem was that when left running for any length of time, it would suck the oxygen out of the room.
Yeah.
So you couldn't shoot with it for very long.
Holy sh-
Though Scott said the production had been assured that it was totally safe.
Yes.
On top of that, Scott did a
I
lot
don't
of
know
the
about
hand-to-hand
that.
camera work inside the ship, so he
Same.
would have to run in small, dark spaces and couldn't watch his feet. In order to get shots like this, where we can see Ripley running from the front, it meant that Scott had to run backwards ahead of her, using his focus puller as kind of a human shield.
Wow,
This
that's
frantic way of
wild.
shooting caused a couple of mistakes that actually stayed in the movie, but they're hard to notice unless pointed out. Here, Sigourney Weaver bumps the camera and stops to see if they should stop the take before continuing on.
I didn't
Here, we
realize
get a
that
glimpse
she's
of what
looking
is
for the
actually
alien.
an electrician
Yeah,
swinging a
it,
black
like,
lamp
makes sense.
back and forth to make the light strobe. Creating a fully enclosed set for the movie helped to make it look realistic and help the actors stay in character, but it caused some problems with the lighting. At first, they tried to pre-rig the set by combining overhead lighting with the practical lights on the floor, but it didn't work because when the actors improvised, they wound up in dark areas. They also had to be creative with the lighting to avoid getting any fill lights in the shot, which Van Lint attributes to the unique look of the movie. They got around this by lighting through grills, using hidden lights, and using practicals that looked like part of the set. In keeping with the approach to the rest of the set, this meant lighting with some unusual sources, such as 747 aircraft lights, panic lights, and some neon and fluorescent lights. In the communications room where Mother is located, they had the aid of the hundreds of tiny bulbs that line the walls.
Those are
Van Lint didn't need to add
bulbs.
much light there, just one light coming in from the ceiling that was gelled to match the color temperature of the bulbs, and a 16mm projector shining on the faces of the actors to simulate a reflection of the monitor, which was probably inspired by 2001: A Space Odyssey. Because a fair amount of the shots were done handheld by Scott himself, Van Lint thought of himself as
I haven't
a
seen that movie
technical
either.
at getting tighter shots. Scott even attached a strobe light to the dolly so he could adjust the speed as needed. Let's finish with perhaps the most claustrophobic set in the movie, the vents.
I'm not Claire Lambert. I want to get the hell out of here.
Oh, God, it's moving right towards you.
But before we get into that, a quick message from this episode's sponsor, Mubi. Mubi is a curated streaming service dedicated to elevating great cinema from all around the globe. From iconic directors to emerging auteurs, there's always something new to discover. With Mubi, each and every film is hand-selected. It's like your own personal film festival streaming anytime, anywhere. Right now on Mubi, you can watch this incredible movie by the great Lynn Ramsey called We Need to Talk About Kevin, which follows a mother played by Tilda Swinton, whose psychopathic child, played by Ezra Miller, is slowly inching toward an act of extreme violence. This movie is a masterclass in visual language, and really shows why Lynn Ramsey is one of the greatest living directors. You can try Mubi free for 30 days at mubi.com/cinematyler. That's mubi.com/cinematyler for a whole month of great cinema for free. And now back to the show. For the scene where Dallas goes into the vents to look for the alien, they weren't fully prepared to shoot it when the time came. Scott had wanted something bigger and more substantial, but there were budget issues that caused a compromise on this particular set. They ended up making a 30-foot stretch of the vent with a T-section in the middle so that they could reuse it and make it look like it kept going. But this created a very tight space to shoot in.
Yeah.
What's funny is you can actually
Holy
see the dolly track on the floor, but it integrates pretty well into the design of the vent.
Absolutely.
Actor Tom Skerritt had to shuffle his way through the
Oh my
vent
gosh.
holding a light in one hand and a flamethrower in the other, and the flame would burn up all of the oxygen in the space, which is why you can hear him breathing heavily in the scene. When they
Oxygen?
cut back
Oh
and
my
forth
gosh.
Between Dallas and the vent and the rest of the crew.
I mean, you
watching
could
the tracking,
fan in
the
some
framing is even
air,
tighter on the crew
and
than
it
on the
would, like,
screen
none the
that
wiser.
easily-
It wouldn't
This heightens the tension
change the
because
scene at
being
all,
animals
like
don't
hearing
get
a
away from the
fan.
confinement of the vents, even when we're not in them. This shot is already tight and pushes in even further. And when the dread has
That would be interesting. If they put a fan in there, they could get the oxygen in there that he needs.
I think he did it on purpose.
But
Just
also
to be...
a droning in the background where you couldn't hear really. You're like listening for something, but there's a constant droning of a fan. They could have put that in there and let him breathe at the same time. But I'm just saying. I think that would have added to the like suspense of you can't see it, you can't hear it, but you couldn't hear it anyway, even though it was quiet.
pushed to its limit, as anxiety-inducing the sets are, we don't really get much relief in the more friendly areas of the ship, like the living quarters. This is because whenever we're not surrounded by gritty, oily machinery, we are surrounded by these nauseating, mass-produced corporate plastic living spaces. This was intentional, and is meant to poke fun at megacorporations like the fictional one at the core of the movie. This is the subject of the next episode, which you can find right here when it's ready. Or check out this video on the insane story behind designing the exterior of the Nostromo, like how the producers never actually chose a design for the ship.
Well, that was interesting. I'm probably going to watch one more behind the scenes. I'm not sure if I want to do another of his or if I want to look up, I don't know. I'm going to look. I'll be right back. All right. We're going to, even though that last guy who we just watched, Cinema Tyler, I would recommend going and watching more of those videos because I briefly watched another one, but it was like 24 minutes, so I don't want to make this video incredibly long, but he is very good at doing research on these movies, and I subscribe to him, and you should too. I was very impressed. But we're just going to do the deleted scenes of Alien because I think one of the comments I had was that we should check them out. So let's do that. I believe this is when she's pretty much the last one on the ship at this point. Quality's a little bad, but we get the gist.
Yeah.
Like at the engine room or something.
Could be anywhere. Amount of eerie, thriller, and spookiness.
Yeah. I do kind of understand why they cut it, just to keep the suspense up. Because it almost feels like a lull. Like it's lulling out a little bit of her being chased. And then if you jump back into her being chased again, it's kind of like an unnecessary
Oh, that's freaking cool looking.
break. What is it? Oh.
That's the guy in the tunnel, right?
Yeah.
Oh my heavens. Clearly it's feeding off of him. That's what I would assume.
Or more eggs.
Oh, there's another guy, right? Fire person?
Yeah.
Oh. I wonder why they took this out of the made a deleted scene.
It might have been too much.
Shuttle?
A movie theater.
Gosh. The whole thing wraps around. That's really neat how it, the whole textures.
Yeah.
Looks like it's organs.
Yeah. I don't know about neat, but. If you want us to do more Alien behind the scenes, we'll do it. But we're probably just going to move right on to Aliens and get that out to you.
I like how he kept making it enclosed. Smaller to really captivate and suck them in.
Yeah.
Because you could see how they were changing their facial and their characters and making it smaller.
Yeah.
Compacting it. Because even they said that it was impacting them and how they're said it got to them. That's really neat.
Yeah. Like when the actors are actually kind of like frightened.
Mm-hmm.
But if it works, that's good. Besides that, I didn't really want to go into the break that we took really at the beginning. I didn't want to like spend too much time talking randomly about crap before the video started, but now that we're at the end, and if you want to hear about that stuff, we're going to go into that. If not, thank you for watching. We took a month off towards the end of the Christmas time. We got sick. Very sick. And we were sick for a month, pretty much.
Yeah.
And then we just took a little time to sort of reformulate our strategies when it came to the channel, to think about ways to improve the channel. A lot of the things that you're going to see, the new intros, the new outros, a lot of back end stuff for it to be easier for me to process videos quicker. Along with that, we're coming out with new channels. Right now it's only one channel. When this video comes out, this will be on a Friday. On Saturday, we're going to have her first. It's her channel. I'm not in it. It's
just moi.
Immersive Reaction Shorts. The link is in the description, along with the other channels if you want to subscribe to those. We don't have any content on them yet, but there will be coming.
Yes.
Whatever you are into normally. Beyond that, that channel is more of short form content, like trailers, documentaries, things that aren't movies, essentially. Everything that isn't a movie, everything that isn't music. That's it. It's just everything that isn't movies. I'm not rolling out TV shows.
Oh.
Everything shorter than a movie is going to be on that channel. So she's going to be reacting to everything and anything. So if you do watch reaction content like that, where people watch YouTube videos, people watch documentaries, people learn about other things, that is where it's going to be.
If you guys have any suggestions of what you want me to watch, please let me know.
Yep.
Because nothing is off the table, the board, the fishing net, nothing.
All of those. And
I would like to thank all of you for sticking around. Welcome, all of you beautiful people, to the channel.
We're going to get back into it a little more and see where it goes. But it really was just being sick for so long and being out of it, getting back into recording regularly, and then the thing that's actually the problem, which is editing, because the editing takes 10x, 20x, 30x the time that this video takes for me to do, which is the problem, and why the videos don't come out on time. I wish it was as easy as just recording it, but it's not. And I've done a lot of research on YouTube, on tags, on all the back end stuff, like I said, to hopefully grow the channel more and give you better videos. And the more people who come, the more input I get, which is better.
Oh yeah.
Thank you for watching.
Immersive reaction.